Hi everyone, welcome back. I feel like it's been a while since I've had a chat with you all because the last couple of videos I don't think had much dialogue in them, if I remember correctly, but this one probably will, you know how I get, and this is the Irish setup, so of course I'm going to be chatty. So we are exploring Ireland for our bullet journal setup for the month of May, and I'm going to be chatting about the folklore, the music and dancing, beautiful scenery, the drinks, the food, and the fun. Now you may have noticed in the title to this video that it says part 1, and that is because in today's video I'm just going to be focusing on the first 4 pages of my setup. So the cover through to Goodliness, and then next week I'll be showing the mind map and the weekly pages because I've decided to expand the weeklies a little bit for my Ireland setup this month. And stick around till a bit later in the video because I do want to share a new avenue with you guys, a new little experience that we can all hopefully contribute into. I love the idea of community and being in touch with you guys over the internet, and I just thought I'd tie a couple of things together. So stick around to hear what that is near the end of the video. And for now, let's get started on this cover page. So immediately when I think of Ireland, I think of a couple of things, and they are very stereotypical, but I just couldn't go past them. I think of the shamrock, the pub, Guinness, whiskey, and all of those things, and St. Paddy's Day. I just connect immediately with Ireland. So I do hope that that doesn't offend any of my Irish friends out there, but yeah, just know that it's all in true love and support for you guys because it's fun. I feel like the Irish know how to have fun and they know how to not take things too seriously, and I think that reflects in some of the research I did as well, just about their characters and their personalities, and I just think it's really nice to promote that friendship and freedom and fun. So what I decided to do on the cover page is your typical Irish pub, and I just love the look of these pubs. They're just so classic, and we have a few around Perth that I like to go to. They've just got such a nice atmosphere about them, and I love the buildings. So I had a look at a few pubs through Dublin, and I just was feeling really inspired. So I invented this pub. This isn't a particular pub itself, but I decided to do it in sort of like a naive kind of line art drawing, and then throw some watercolor in as well. I do love working with buildings, as you've seen in my previous videos. I love drawing architecture. So the thought of creating this cute little pub that has lots of ivy and kind of ornate details and things like that, it just really excited me. And once I had that in my mind, I thought, I don't think I can do anything else, that I just have to do it. So that is what I've created on this first cover page. So we used to have a pub here in Perth, an Irish pub called The Crack. And I honestly never thought about what that word meant, or I don't even know. I think I maybe thought it was a name or something. Anyway, in my research, I found that the word crack actually means to have a good time and enjoy social activity, which is so ideal for this cover page because that's exactly what this is, having a late night, getting together with your friends and having a few drinks and fun and laughter. And so, yeah, this is definitely a word that I was encouraged by. And I also wanted to include the most famous event, I think, worldwide, which is St. Patrick's Day. And I know that here in Perth, we celebrate it quite a bit on March 17th. And I can imagine it just goes off in Ireland. I think there would be green everywhere and a lot of leprechauns. And I think it would be a really nice day of the year to get out and celebrate with your friends and family. So St. Patrick's Day is a day to celebrate all things Irish, but also the Christianity that came to Ireland way back in the day by St. Patrick, who was the patron saint of Ireland, and he introduced Christianity to Ireland. St. Paddy's Day is actually the largest celebrated national festival in the world. It's found in many countries, and it's not always approved of because of the stereotypical nature. I guess it is quite commercialized now, but I just see if it's not doing harm. Hopefully it's not hurting anyone out there. But yeah, so let me know your thoughts on that. I hope that there's no Irish people who are upset with me talking about this, but yeah, I just think it's a way to celebrate something, and it's nice to bring people together. Now, because I was going down this St. Patrick's Day avenue, I thought it would be cool to insert our magical reading girl who's just been sucked into a book about Ireland. And as she's gone into this Irish St. Patrick's Day pub, she's suddenly dressed as a leprechaun. So she's the size of a leprechaun, which in folklore is about 2 feet high. And she's sitting there on the barrel at the front of the pub and dressed all in her leprechaun outfit. Now, what I read is that leprechauns are in folklore always male, so this is already not an accurate representation, but leprechauns are truly believed to exist in Ireland. They're usually presented as a little bearded man of only 1 to 2 rulers tall, and he always wears green or sometimes red, and looks after a pot of gold hidden at the end of a rainbow. According to folklore, they are solitary creatures who hide away in the forests, avoiding humans, for if they're captured, they must grant 3 wishes to the captor. They're clever and mischievous, and usually shoemakers, because they will always need new shoes from all the dancing, and they love music and dancing, so they wear out all their shoes. Now, the term "the luck of the Irish" came to me when I was doing this setup, and I researched into the reasons that we say that. And there were a few differing ideas and not so nice ones, but the one that was nice and I think is hopefully the truest of it, and that's the one I believe, which is that this leprechaun tale. And it's sweet because it's basically saying if you are lucky enough to find a leprechaun, then, you know, you've got the luck of the Irish. So I kind of like the relation that you'd have to be so lucky to find these creatures because they do not want to be found. They hide in forests and in caves and rabbit holes and trees, and, you know, they don't want to be caught. So if you do find one, well, that's the luck of the Irish. So I like that more so than the other reasons that I read about. And then to finish off this spread, I thought I would definitely have a rainbow in the background, which I plan on connecting in my next part of this setup, so that it's sort of like traveling through Ireland, starting at the front page, ending on the last. And then I wanted to decorate it with this beautiful washi tape that I have. This tape is called Fall Equinox, and it's from the washi tape shop. I absolutely adore the colours on this tape and was dying to use it because it's the ideal kind of colour palette I was going for with this Irish setup. I wanted a lot of greens and then just a pop of orange. So it just worked beautifully for this time of year as well, because we're in autumn down here in Australia. So yeah, just was really happy to be able to use it, and I think it complements the picture quite nicely. If you wanted to order this washi tape or anything else from the washi tape shop, I do have a discount code. It's Torryn 10, and that will get you 10% off anything in the store. So links are in the description if you need any of my supplies. And here's a final look at how the cover spread turned out. Turning over the page behind our Dutch door and getting started on the calendar spread. On this page, I always love to include the national animal of the country I'm visiting, and Ireland's national animal is the hare, the mountain hare. And this was an interesting creature to learn about. I never really looked into the size of hares, and I just assumed they were a form of rabbit, just like a normal sized rabbit. But it turns out these things are quite decently sized. Apparently they can grow up to 65 centimeters in length, which is kind of like the size of a medium-sized dog, which, yeah, I don't know why I never really thought about this. But now the age-old story of the hare and the tortoise makes sense to me, because I never really understood that before. But like, why would they compare a rabbit to a tortoise? Now I know. It's not really a rabbit, it's a hare, and it's got hind legs that can really move. These guys have much longer legs than a rabbit. So yeah, that tail makes a lot more sense now. I also learnt that their colourings were quite interesting. So they're generally shades of brown, and they always have a white tail. And then in winter, they actually shed that hair and turn completely white. So they would like blend in with the snowy mountains, I'm sure. And this is what distinguishes them from European hares, because European hares don't have the white tails all year round. And then to put this rabbit, I was about to call it a rabbit. To put this mountain hare in the right setting, I thought I would set it in a field of lush green, and then in the background have a mountain or a plateau, which is a famous place in Ireland to visit, which is called Ben Bulben. And this is a rock formation that's 526 meters in the air, and our little mountain hares actually live there amongst a lot of really native Irish flora and other fauna that live there, and it's because it's cooler temperatures being up so high, they're able to have lots of unique foliage. And I thought it sounded like such a great hiking trail. If you're into hiking, you can hike up this this mountain, I don't know what to call it, up this formation on the south side, because it has a nice gentle slope leading up to the top of the formation. So I thought that looked really cool, and it worked perfectly with this layout, and just I kind of was trying to be inspired from that washi tape and just add those sort of leaves just quite effortlessly. It's a little bit of leaf action and some watercolor to make it all pop, and definitely trying to include a lot of green everywhere where I can. What I possibly love most about Ireland and the thought of it is its sweet nickname as the Emerald Isle. My favorite color is green, and in particular emerald, so I went straight to that in my inspiration for the color palette. And it's just such a beautiful island covered in green, with luck and happiness and magic coming from everywhere, and I just feel like it's the name Emerald Isle just automatically sets it up for a beautiful country to visit. Definitely on the bucket list. Adding just extra detail on that hair with my Pigma Microns, and I'm also doing a kind of Celtic style font for the capital letters of the days of the week. And then this calendar here is only small spaces for me, because it's a place where I keep birthday reminders on here, or what videos I'm uploading to the channel. Those just kind of simple plans go on here just as a quick reference point. And then that is how I finished off this page, and here's a look at how it turned out. Okay, now as we turn over, we're on to my gratitude journal or gratitude list and my meal planner page. So this spread, I always kind of try to work it as one, even though there are two purposes for this spread. So the first page on the left is, I like to include a quote recently, because this is where I'm writing things that I'm grateful for throughout the month. And I just wanted it to be a quote that reminds me to be thankful, and something that usually is reflective of the country that I'm visiting as well. So I know that Ireland has quite a few famous novelists and writers and poets. So I did have a look through some of the poetry by Oscar Wilde and Yeats and Samuel Beckett. But just to mention them here, that they're incredible writers of the past of Ireland. But I just couldn't find anything that was really resonating with me, and something that's short enough to mean gratefulness for this page. So what I ended up going with was a quote that I hear in my mind in Irish. It's something that every Irish person I've known, and I've got quite a few people that I know from Ireland and are very true Irish, very patriotic Irish as well, and something that I can hear them all saying in my head is "Thanks a million." And so I couldn't go past it. So I thought, oh, well, that's ideal, because this is about giving thanks. Gratitude is about being thankful and grateful. So maybe that would work perfectly for this spread. And so I went with it. So I did actually research, what does thanks a million come from? Where does that come from? Why do so many Irish people say it? And I learned that it's a translation from the Irish Gaelic phrase "Gura mila mahagat," which means "may you have 1,000 good things." And I just really like that. And when we say it in English, it sort of translates to, or maybe over years it's been increased to "thanks a million." But yeah, I really like it, and I find myself saying it sometimes, but I can't help to say it with a nice Irish accent. What I also loved in my research is how kind Irish people are. They have a very genuine nature, and literally 90% of people, no matter how short the trip on a bus, will still say thank you to the bus driver, which I just thought was a nice little quirky fact that I found, along with the fact that they say good morning to magpies and believe it helps good luck the more you see. So the more magpies you see, the better luck you'll have for your day. I always remember being afraid of magpies when I was younger, because I was afraid of them swooping. I don't know if everywhere gets swooping season, I'm sure they do, but yeah, magpies can be considered really dangerous. There's even signs up at our parks locally if it's swooping season. So yeah, this is a nice thought that magpies are actually lucky. So maybe if you get swooped, you're really lucky. which has happened to me and my family actually quite a few times. My daughter once got swooped 3 times in a row as she was riding around on her scooter down the park. I was terrified. But anyway, so now that I've written that in my Celtic style font mixed with like a little bit of calligraphy here and there, I'm moving on to my meal planner. Oh, I've also done the Celtic knots down as the border corners as well, which I don't love in orange, but I do change that later into a green. And yeah, on the meal planner side, I thought I would have a look at a very interesting thing to see in Ireland, and that is called the hungry tree. It's a London plane tree, and it eventually over time has basically sucked into it the park bench that was sitting in front of it. And so it looks like it's eating the tree, which I thought was just so cool. And the fact that someone must have seen that it was growing quite close to the bench, but nobody moved it. That's what is I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, why didn't they move the bench when they saw the tree kind of starting to envelop it? But I'm glad they didn't, because it looks awesome. So if you want to see this in real life like I do, it is at the King's Inn Park in Dublin and is a very hot spot for photography. So I think it looks really cool. And so I thought with this one, I normally put the national dish on this page, but once again, it's a rather unattractive national dish. It's the Irish stew. I'm sure it's completely tasty, but it's just not great to draw. So instead, I went for the items that I thought about when I initially think of it, which is the very famous drink of Guinness, which is the dark stout beer that's synonymous with Ireland. Originated in Dublin at the brewery of Arthur Guinness, and that was back in 1759. And it's one of the most successful alcohol brands worldwide, brewed in almost 50 countries and available in over 120. And what to have when you're having beer but some potato chips. And potatoes are synonymous with Ireland as well. They are absolutely known for potato production. They love them. And the brand Tato chips sound delicious and are a staple in Irish snack cupboards, and I am definitely wanting a pack right now when I look at it. So yes, hence why I drew the Tato chips packet next to the Guinness. And then the last thing that I wanted to add on this page was a bottle of Irish whiskey, and this one is for you, Jeremy, if you're watching. I know how he loved Jameson's, and it's just something that I always think of when I think of Irish. So I drew a bottle of that down there. And now I look at it, it does look a bit of a sus bench with all these, alcohol beverages and a half-eaten packet of chips. I hope that isn't offensive. That's not what I was trying to say. It just happened to look like that in the end. But yeah, this is how the spread turned out. And now I'm ready to plan my meals on this page for the month of May. And now on to this next page, which is my habit tracking page, or what I like to call my Goodliness spread. So it's all the good habits that I want to remind myself to do daily, like sleep, go to bed on time, drink lots of water, do a bit of exercise, eat healthy, all those good things. And I'm still yet to have a perfect month. I would be surprised if anyone did have a perfect month, to be honest, because it's so hard to be perfect all the time. But we try. Now for the illustration on this page, I wanted to look at the very famous musical elements of Ireland. Now we know that a huge part of their culture is music and dance. So for dance, I wanted to illustrate someone doing Irish dancing. I'm sure we'd all heard of the river dance, which was performed as the intermission of the Eurovision Song Contest back in '94. I'm not sure if it was that particular time that really brought it to light about Irish dancing. But yeah, for me, it was river dance. Oh yeah, Irish dancing. You just kind of connected those two things together. So yeah, I drew this girl who was doing the Irish dancing, and she's holding on to the Live Aid logo, which is a guitar. So basically, I had no idea that Sir Bob Geldof created the event Live Aid, which I'm sure most of us have heard about or seen elements of. It was held back in July of 1985 at Wembley Stadium, and it was to fundraise for the famine in Ethiopia. It was opened by Princess Diana and Prince Charles and had so many huge musicians there to perform to raise money. To name a few, we had Queen, David Bowie, Elton John, Phil Collins, Madonna, Paul McCartney, Bryan Adams, Bob Dylan, I could keep going, Rick Springfield. Okay, so there was so many stars there, and quite a few of them were Irish, but the lead event creator and organizer was Sir Bob Geldof, who is an Irish singer-songwriter, and he was actually knighted for his charity work in Africa and for really building this amazing super group called Band Aid that would just play for charity benefits. And yeah, what a great guy, what a great thing to remember and relate to this country here. So I thought I would try and establish some connection with the dancing and the music all together. And by illustrating it like this, it just works. I had to mention that the song that I love to play at Christmas time is Do They Know It's Christmas, which I didn't realize was written by Bob Geldof, and it's one of the best-selling singles of all time. And then he is not the only Irish musical genius. We also have huge bands like U2, The Cranberries, Enya, Sinead O'Connor, Ronan Keating, The Cause, and I'm sure there's many more that I haven't mentioned, but I will share a couple of facts that I liked learning when I was researching U2. The lead singer, Bono, as we all know, that's not his real name, which I wasn't surprised to find out. His actual name is Paul David Hewson. But he was given a nickname Bono Vox by his friend when he was younger, which translates to good voice. So he kept it and he called himself Bono. And then the other thing that was nice is that he wrote the song The Sweetest Thing for his wife because he was spending so much time in the studio, he actually forgot her birthday. So he wrote that song to apologize to her, I guess, which I thought was really nice. And it's such a beautiful song. So yeah, next time you listen to that, really focus on the lyrics and see what he was trying to say. And then a favorite song of mine growing up was Zombie by the Cranberries. And I never listened to the lyrics. I don't really listen to lyrics. I just sing along with them and don't even know what I'm singing. But the lyrics to that song are incredibly moving, and I had no idea that it was written about the conflict in Northern Ireland and about some bombings that had killed 2 children. So it was terribly sad that this song that I grew up singing was about something it was like a protest song, so important, saying, what's in their head. Anywho, let's get off of that topic and on to the beautiful gold Gansai Tambi watercolor that I adore. It is just popping so much on this page. I love it. And then I've surrounded the whole drawing with that washi tape again to tie it all together. So I like how each page is feeling like quite cohesive and lovely. So yeah, really happy with how this drawing turned out, except for her face. Her face did go a little bit in the wrong direction. I originally sketched it out with graphite, and I did some cool shading showing where the light was coming from, and I thought, oh yeah, cool, that'll work with my hatching technique with the pen, but it didn't. It just looked like she'd been beaten up in the face, which is not what I wanted. It just looked really dark and bruised, so that wasn't great. I tried to fix it by adding some colored pencil over the top. I think I saved it slightly, but yes, note to self, don't try and shade a small face with hatching. I took another opportunity to use more of a beautiful green on this page, and that really brought her traditional Irish costume dress to life. And then once all of that illustration was finished, it was time to add in my trackers. I always print out little mini calendars to stick in here because I just don't want to repeat the dates so many times by hand. It's a lot easier to just print it out and stick it into the journal and then just write the titles on top. And so to decorate this page, I did use my nice Pentel sign brush in this gorgeous green color for the title of Goodliness. And then I tried to do some Celtic pattern borders, but I totally failed on the left-hand side, so I had to figure out a way to fix that. So how I did that was just color it in green and then stick some of that same washi tape over the top. The intention was to have just a nice, clean Celtic patterned border, but it didn't work out like that. So that's how I fixed it. And then just titled the habit trackers, and she was finished. So this is the final spread for today's setup. And now as I move to the next page, I'm about to be starting on my mind map. That will be in the next video, but I just thought here I would mention the new idea that has come to me recently. So about 2 years ago, I read a book by an Irish writer called Dervla McTiernan, and she's Irish, but she actually lives here in Perth. And someone gave me her book, a couple of years ago, and I fell in love with it, absolutely adored reading it, and it's called The Ruin. And I put it forward to my local book club. I'm in a book club with the mums from the school that my daughters go to, and we have lots of fun when we get together and we chat about the book that we read for the month. And so I recommended The Ruin last month, I think it was, and so I reread it then. Heard lots of good feedback from the other ladies. They all really enjoyed the book as well, and then they went on to read the other books in her series. So I thought this is maybe a hidden gem that more people need to know about. It is like a bestseller as well, but I just feel like it's not talked about. So I thought I would present it to you guys. And it was so weird because, it's an Irish writer. It's all set in Ireland, and there's lots of Irish words and places throughout it. So it just tied in really nicely as well, that it seemed to work at this time. So my idea was that I would kind of like to hear what you think of books, and I thought it might be something that we can read together and talk about in a video, and I could do like a review of a book and share my opinion with you, and then you guys can let me know yours, and it can be hopefully like a combined effort to reading books throughout the future. So I am proposing that we read The Ruin. If you want to be part of this, I'm going to do a review on it in a few weeks' time, and I'm actually going to see Dervla McTiernan in person at an event because she's just brought out a new book called The Murder Rule, and that looks really good too. So The Ruin is the first of a series of 4. This new one will be the 4th. And she, by the way, does not know that I'm doing this. I've never met her before, so it's completely just my own opinion. I just wanted to make that clear. This is not a sponsor or anything. A big shout out and a thank you so much for your support to my newest patrons, which is Akila S, Diane W, Laura S, and Anne R. If you'd like to find out more about how you can support me through Patreon, I'll leave the link down in the description box for you to check out. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very shortly in the part 2 of this setup next week, so make sure you're subscribed. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.